Hello and welcome to Failure and Analysis. I'm playing Blood Bowl 2 with my Dwarf team. This is game, what is it, 11 versus High Elves? Game 11 versus High Elves. This should be fun. Let's take a look. Karned Mad, Damad, 1. Very good coach. 3, 1, and 3. Block Blitzer, Dodge Lineman. Mighty Blow Catcher, off to a great start. 4 strength lineman with tackle. Dodge. And an Agi Thrower. Nice. The passing game. So we got way more TV than it looked like there. 90K though. Do something with that. Beat the salt. Is it the salty elves? I thought. I mean, yeah, he's gonna be salty because you're old dwarf, but yours was a wood elf coach, right? The guy got all salty after you banged on his tree. Yeah, but he wasn't running. Was that Karn to Mad 1? Did he switch it up after losing his tree? Went back to his high elves?
I don't see why I gotta take notice of him now.
Is he thinking about conceding here? It's like, oh, death roller dwarves. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Thankfully, I took Mighty Blow on Too Tall Troll Slayer. Otherwise, he would have had just as much Mighty Blow as I do. And that's not right. Right. Oh, he took the Wizard. Big spender. What he doesn't realize is that with this record, I've got nothing to lose. With everything to gain in Dead Elves. The worst kind of opponent. Backed up against a corner. All he wants to do is kill you. Yeah. But that one time, dude, that one time where he rolled those couple bad dice, that's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to be straight pows and sixes. Anything less is a miscarriage of justice. How many break tackles do I have to make to kill this guy? That's the question. I'm gonna have for you over this guy even better. This guy's a little dodgy. I'm gonna have sick alignment on him. A long beard. Yeah, sad. It's sad. Still block. Take it wasn't a double either. All right. player. An essential ingredient for any Norse team.
Some say it's perfect for playing Blood Bowl.
Oh,
I rock
that kick. So uncool. Welcome to the game. Would you like to roll some dice? Let's get rid of the squishies. Oh, I didn't think that one through, did I? Maybe I'll get a bolt down here. Ooh, treasure. Ooh, and a stun. I'm not sure about that move, but I just really want to do it. Really want to smash this dude. The rule of one. Satisfaction. Thank you for the bits. Gorgeous. No, no elf, no mighty blow. You cannot have any mighty blow. Sometimes you just gotta do the silly. Oh, I didn't even see that you suggested that. Because that was kind of, yeah, that was my plan. I was like, oh, I really want to smash him. But it seemed a little on the foolish side. Not foolish, but a little bit self-indulgent, let's say. But oh man, that's exactly the payout I wanted.
That's it. Get in their face.
Nice little reminder too. Don't get too casual. This guy has break tackle. Just a little reminder.
He'll get an assist now.
No. He is going to be able to put decent pressure on the ball. Nice. Yeah, and usually they don't let you get the 3 dice, right? Like if he had built his rule of 5 sort of standard, there's no way I was going to get 3 dice. But he didn't, so that was the other reason, like I had to go in. The rule of 5 dive. I like the name of that. That should have been the name of my Death Roller team, right? Because not many people can pull off that. That's a good name for a Death Roller, at least. Rule of 5 diver. Run away. He's like, he can go anywhere with that Death Roller. He can do anything. How am I gonna save my precious
No need to
precious
be
dudes?
like that. My life coach says I have a very healthy.
So I guess I gotta bring this guy back to try to build the cage. Can knock this guy out of the way. But yeah, my cage is gonna be deep. Deep, I tell you. Oh, and I can't quite get to him. Oh, he just lightning bolted me. Yeah, this is gonna be a problem. At least I can cage up for real. Can he get there? With 2 GFIs? That's rough. But he doesn't have strip, so... Looks like my Blitzer rogue shenanigans. Not Doge. It's a counter Doge. Why would you want to counter Doge? I'm gonna blitz.
He's coming to help his buddy. That's gonna hurt.
Get stunned. Yeah, let me finish this turn. I'll look at it. That's a frenzy trap waiting to happen.
He's gone into the opponent's tackle zone. Should be good.
The Dwarf player has just picked up the ball.
That's not their style. They must be up to something.
Frenzy trap. Or that. Let's see. Do you think it would be broken if their prehensile tail was reworked into a normal skill? Right, just giving -1. See, I think that's... Yeah, like... That's what's sad about a lot of the mutations, is that the designs of them are really good in terms of, like, creating variable builds to counter specific things or aid you in certain ways. Like, if all the mutations were... That whole skill group was gone and they were sort of mixed, spread out to all the different other categories, I think there'd be so much more diversity in skill builds. I think one of the critical mistakes of the skill categories is that they put them in the thematic sense in the right place in some cases, but not on the teams that actually want those things the most, right? what am I trying to say? Like Sure-Fee, for example, when I talk about moving that to be a normal skill. Because elves are already really fast. And so it's the slower teams, the bashier teams, that want that skill more. They can't get it because they don't have agi access, right? So putting them within the reach of other teams to do some of those things, I think would have been a better choice. But anyway. Yeah, and you have tackle as the normal skill, which does that, but it would probably have been better to break tackle, to split tackle up into countering different parts, splitting dodge up to give you benefits in 2 different areas, right? Like, oh really? Even on your skinks? Like, I thought skinks were pretty much diving tackle and sidestep, and that was it. And then they were fired if they didn't get a double. But yeah, I mean, the point being that it's like, if you give the Agi teams Agi access, and all the stuff in Agi makes you better at agility stuff that you're already good at, it's less desirable for that team. And then if you deprive that whole tree to like the Agi 3 teams or the Bash teams that want a little bit of that, then I think it's defeated the purpose of, you know, it's like the elves don't really want it because they're already good enough with it. Like, they don't want +1 to dodge. They already dodge on a 2+. They don't want 2 heads, for example. But some 3 Agi teams die for that stuff. Like the stunties die for that stuff. And so all you've really done is deprive the game in general of more options, you know, more breadth of options and team development and things like that. So I think it's sad. Hey Coley, how you doing? And that's why you see things like skinks like running out of decent picks, because a lot of those picks are stuff that they don't really care about. Like, well, it's that, and a lot of those skill values just are low, so. Yeah, so like taking some of those yeah, I think there'd be a lot more interesting builds if those ideas were sort of spread out. Yeah, congrats on making the playoffs, Coldy. Which team were you again? I can't remember. Yeah, like, yeah, I'm torn about, like, I agree. I like that it's sort of unique. I think that's one of the things that makes this game interesting and different, is that, you know, they have teams that have special access to something really cool. I just don't agree with how they executed on that idea. I feel like a better execution. I don't know, this is risky. Yeah, let me finish this turn and then we can talk more about that, because that does fascinate me. is a better place to put the ball. Possibly. Not necessarily.
That's a solid formation. I want to see the opposing team have a go with the ball now.
You gotta get in the fight. I'll take starting with the 1 dies. Sure.
With fists tight, he's following up, hoping to get the knockdown next time.
Yeah, so that's the thing about mutation access. Like, some of the skills in there I think should not be in there and would serve the game better, and diversity of builds a lot better if they were in other places. I'm not sure that's true for all of the skills, but so someone was saying how it used to be that you could take mutation access and it would give you a random thing, right? And I think that concept is closer to how I would want the access to that to work. Like, even like, imagine if it were just like a random attribute. You just roll and whatever happens, happens. They're all good, right? Some are obviously much better than others, but if it were just a random attribute, right, I think a lot of people would still go for mutation access. If it were like on doubles or something like that, you know, without it sort of depriving the game of skills I think are highly desirable and really good choices for a lot of other teams that don't have mutation access. Because a lot of those things are just, they're the answers to, you know, big issues a lot of teams have. And so you have to find a team that's like, they have access to that and they have those problems in order to solve them. Like, the difference between Underworld Goblins and Goblins to me was, man, was was so stark. It really kind of crystallized in my mind. That having 2 heads as an agility tree ability would be massive for those teams that have stunties. Totally overpowered for skinks, but massive for the stunties. So yeah, I don't know. 2 heads on your mummy? Of course I do. I want to see how that looks. Yeah. Yeah, I think random skill, like, they were right to change a random skill from back in the day because there were probably just so many misses, and it was like, well, I rolled random on mutation and then I didn't like what I got, so I fired the guy, right? Like, that's not what you want. But it was something unique to that team, to those particular players, and that's what you want. You want it to be unique and play different and feel different, but not like this specialized access thing to common problems in the game or common scenarios in the game that everybody wants access to. Everyone wants to be able to fix. You want all the fundamentals of the game to have, to be in the game. Like the fact there's only one answer to high armor, and it's in mutation, is to me just bad design, right? It's like, well, lots of teams have problems with high armor. Why do I have to be a certain team in order to answer that problem? And you could say that, well, Claw is one version of anti-armor. Give another skill that was anti-armor to the rest of the teams to make them continue to feel unique, and that's fine. But the fact that it's the only one, it's the only skill in the game that answers anti-armor, to me is not good.
Yeah, smells like a good old-fashioned fight.
Wow. The natural counter to dwarves. The only way to win, Too Tall Brown, is not to play. Yeah, true. Right, so Clizzy. Yeah, the soft AV9 problem. Yeah, the answer is just roll better, right? The counter. There are certainly other mechanics in the design space that could counter armor. Claw isn't the only idea out there. Oh, I really want to 3-die that guy. And so, yeah, you want those counters to be available, at least one of potentially several counters to be available to all teams, so that people can build their teams to cover their own kind of playstyle deficiencies, or because they just hate something and they want answers to it, and when they run up against it. It also makes the meta super healthy, right? Because if everyone's running this thing, then guess what? Everyone starts running the counter to that thing, and that thing stops being the thing everybody runs, and you go through the meta, revolving door, which is really important to keeping it healthy. But because there's no counter to high armor, mutation access bash teams, right? Chaos Dwarves, and Chaos, and Nurgle, tons of people run that stuff. Regeneration is actually a decent counter, but again, it's only available to certain teams. I shouldn't say mutation access, but Claw, Mighty Blow, the Claw Palm. And even then, it's a pretty soft counter. It's not like a super hard counter. Oh, did I just injure a guy? Oh no, I KO'd him. Let's put you down where you are. I'm gonna surf this guy if I can. Oh, that's no good. No, I don't get to move.
One less annoyance than me.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. Yeah, that's another possibility. Too Tall Brown. The make abilities and mutation available to all inside that makes mutations better. Yeah, like you could also do the, you get to pick a skill and it has an upgraded version, right? Like, and you just say, okay, I want super access to that. And that gets a little problematic. They used to have double mighty blow, right? And they realized, oh, that's a problem. So they got rid of it, but Arabic, yeah. Yeah, it's funny how I mean that's a purely superstition based, right, idea, right? And that's I mean that's the whole, there's all those Gamwood fallacies, right, about probability and stuff, like we experience something and we assume that there's structure to this randomness, right, in our brains, especially when we don't know the actual rules. It only has to happen a few times for you to feel like, well, that's just what happens. That's what happens all the time. Like it's just the way our brains work. So it's amusing when people tell me anecdotes like that, where it's like, yeah, that happened a few times, and it makes kind of thematic sense. The hit points idea. Dude ran out of hit points. You can only be punched so many times before you're just dead. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting about regen, like and that's to me that's like the one defining weakness of the lizard team, is that you can't really lose that many of either of the player types, your bashers or your ball handlers, before that team really starts to fall apart. So, typically in game design, you don't want to, like when you make a change to a team, let's say they got to the point where they felt like lizards were underpowered and they wanted to make them better. Typically the approach isn't to take the thing they're bad at and make them better, right, at that thing, because then the teams all sort of start to homogenize towards the middle, right? You want teams that have strengths and weaknesses, and so if anything you want to make their strengths stronger and their weaknesses weaker if you're going to make a change, with overall balance meaning being up or down depending on what you're nerfing or buffing. But that's sort of classic game design, because this is their identity, right? This is the identity they have as a team, that they have these strengths and weaknesses, and so just making their strengths worse and their weaknesses softer, and you do that across all the teams, and all of a sudden it's like everyone's the same. So yeah, the MVP rule is yeah, I don't know if fixing the MVP rule is the right approach. Like I would rather man. Ooh, I'm getting armor breaks though. I'll talk about that in a minute, because I have feelings about that one as well. As always, strong feelings. Nothing to do with them. Oh, that's a terrible. How do I get my guard in here? No. kill a 4 strength guy. Ooh, stunned. Yeah, my armor breaks are real nice. Alright. Loving these both downs. We got 2 guys back there. We got a long way to go.
And the other team steal away.
Yeah, so MVP, like, I think the real problem is that what you alluded to, which is that a lot of the, or too many of the positionals, too many of the pieces in the game are deprived an easy way to gain SPPs because you either have to score touchdowns or have Mighty Blow, right? I experienced this when I played Khemri recently in the Tomb Guardians, right? I was just like, this thing is garbage, right? Because it's like the first 6 SPPs have to come through non-Mighty Blow hits, and he doesn't have block, so you have to try to manufacture 3 die blocks and then get lucky on the injury stuff. And then he has to get 3 of those just so he can get Mighty Blow, so that he can start progressing at a reasonable rate, so that he can get, you know, the things he needs to be basically just a mummy, right? In the meantime, he has decay, so any bad roll, and he's probably done. And so those guys are super pain, right, to level. It's super painful. And so I think the way to fix that, rather than being able to pick where your MVPs go, because then you'd see even more SPP stacking on only the guys that matter, which I think makes the game in general less interesting, because I think super linemen that come down the road are actually really interesting for the game and do a lot of things to make playability, replayability more exciting. But I would make it so that SPPs were handed out more liberally, for just doing all kinds of the things that you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, so if, you know, and maybe the XP table's a little more extended, so that 6 doesn't get you a level, it's 10. But give an SPP every time, you know, an SPP for any armor break on a bash unit, you know, give 1 for an armor break. And then it's like, okay, well, now he's going to get that first level a little better, and he's doing the things he's supposed to be doing. You know, give catching an SPP, right? You know, just have more actions that are being, or potentially even dodging. You get SPPs for dodging. You know, that kind of thing. All the things that you're doing in the game generally give more SPPs, and you still have the sense that, like, really good uses of those skills still gets you more SPPs. So you get 2 for a Kaz and 1 for an armor break. But still, it's coming in at a more regular rate, and the MVP on top of that is just kind of fluff and fun and random, but it doesn't impact you as much in that bad way of like, well, all my MVPs went to my rotters and they all just die, so I'm just constantly sort of losing MV or SPPs at this terrible rate. No! You're supposed to die. Yeah, so I think that would go a long way towards fixing the SBP deprivation in a lot of places. It would also fix the problem of, like, or help alleviate the problem of, I hate playing dwarves against dwarves because I can't ever break their armor, and so I never get any SPPs. Like, well, if you're a bash team, you can dodge away from them, or you can, you know, run handoff plays and, you know, things like that. Oh, I should have blitzed with him. Not thinking. Anyway, that was one idea. But yeah, the problems are so convoluted at this point, and because the expectation is only the very minor of changes are actually going to be made by whoever's in charge of making them, whether it's Games Workshop or Cyanide or some combination of both, and they have to agree, you know, potentially, that it's like all you can really do is tweak one little thing. But the problems are so systemic in a lot of cases that in order to truly fix them would require a team, playtesting, you know, new ideas, right, in order to get these things right. Because you couldn't just extend the table and start giving SVPs for everything without massively testing it to see, like, are the elf teams just raking it in and the bash teams are now behind them, and it's like, that's really bad, or, you know, vice versa, that kind of thing. So it takes a lot of work and, you know, a team of people that are are built to do that kind of thing. But I imagine the Blood Bowl community would be happy to playtest the crap out of that stuff and give their opinions the whole time. We're very opinionated for sure, so. That's the essence of dwarf gameplay. Push and pray. So yeah, there are answers to these problems, but it's like, it's so difficult to make changes to this game at this point. I'm really curious about, you know, the Blood Bowl 3, if there is one, if they plan on it, like, if they'll have license to tackle some of these problems. If Games Workshop's like, yeah, sure, we'll work on the tabletop, it'll be its thing, and then you can work on the online game, and it'll also just involve a lot of risk, you know, like, how many people will be upset if they nerf Chaos Dwarves, you know? It's just like, or Wood Elves, it's like, yeah, you know, it's probably needed, you know, but that stuff comes at a high price because the community is so used to it. Some of the players have been playing this game like me for decades, and it's like, how dare you touch my favorite team? It's tough. Always comes down to money, right? Always money. Takes time and money. And what's the benefit, you know, like, it's not like Blood Bowl is raking in the cash. Like, I don't know what the subsidies are in France for game design. Does anybody know? Like, do they have that? Because a lot of countries in Europe, they consider game design art. And they have government subsidies for people creating art. Like, they will pay companies some amount of money to create art, and game design falls in that category, right? So, you know, some European game companies can make games that are less marketable, let's say, and still make a profit from it, right? And that's probably the reason we have Blood Bowl at all, right? Because Blood Bowl probably didn't make very much money. And so, yeah, I mean, and so for them to go all in, right, which is hiring a big team to do, you know, the things that need to be done and that kind of thing, just kills any chance of profit, even with those potential subsidies. So how are they going to do it? Or is this the best we can hope for, you know, unfortunately? Yeah, Prague. That is a way, and you know, I still to this day can't figure out what their rule is for reroll costs. Like, it just seems, I don't know. Like, I just can't figure it out. Like, is that how they use it? They're like, at the end of the day, like, this team won too much in testing, so we jack the price of the reroll a little. It makes no sense to me. And yeah, I don't know if that's ultimately going to solve, you know, the problem that some of these teams face. I didn't need an assist there, but I guess I'm not there for an assist, just to clog things.
At the same time.
How am I going to get this ball across the end zone? I haven't been planning where I would be in the next few turns. This is terrible. I didn't move the other guy first. Now I gotta dodge. I'm not thinking. At least he KO'd that dude. Haha. Ugh, that is so terrible. One, two, GFI. If he's here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's probably the best I can do. Guess I could go here. Oh no! Don't do that! I almost did that. Instead I did that. That puts the kibosh on casual GFIs everywhere. To make one though. So that he only gets a 1 die. Pretty bad. Anyway. Yeah, so yeah, the reroll cost, like when I think about how I would do it, I think about teams that are super reliable because of their skill setup out of the box, having more expensive rerolls, and guys that are super unreliable out of the box having lower cost. That's really the only metric I can see that makes design sense to me. I don't think that as the final tool to balance a team, it makes any sense, right? Because I don't know, rerolls are just this. They're just a very abstract design concept, and so using them as a balancing tool seems weird, right? Like the cost to me should just be, well, is your team super reliable and they don't really need them? Then it's going to cost you a little more to make your team extra super reliable, right? And if your team is already struggling with reliability, maybe we'll cheapen it or whatever, so that you don't have to worry about, you know, trying to cover yourself. I mean, the game still has tons of reliability, but then again, that design idea, like, reduces the variance just a little bit in the game, which you want to make sure there's enough of that in the game, because that's Blood Bowl is high variance. But yeah, kittens. Yeah, it's like it is a giant rabbit hole, right? Like, and to be honest, it's in a pretty good place, right? Like, it's in a place where we have been able to play it a lot for a long, long time, and that's the best you can really ask for when it comes to some of this stuff. So yeah, and then obviously different environments, and this wasn't this environment that we're playing in now, Blood Bowl matchmaking, champion ladder, whatever. It wasn't even dreamed of, you know, like this game was made before the internet was invented, right? So and it's in a pretty good place, all told. Like it's band-aided here and there and patched together, and it looks like this Frankenstein's monster of balancing, you know, but at the end of the day, it's not. Alright, how do I get this thing in there? It's not so bad that we can't play it, right? Like, which a lot of games have gotten to that point where the balance is so bad, the meta is so one-dimensional. Oh man, what was the name of that game? It was one of the early MOBAs, and it had a character that was like this giant castle, and he had like turrets on him that archers were shooting out of and stuff like that. Does anyone remember? Demigod, I think, is the name of that game. Does anyone remember that game? Alright, so I need to one die this guy away because I can't get an assist on him, and then blitz this guy down. Is that the plan? All without rerolls? That's a good start. And do I throw my sweet 3-die blocks with the death roller before I... Yes, I do. One die. Oh, he's got 4 strength. I gotta do this though, right? I got to do this. Mighty blow against the 4 strengther. It's gonna be a rough dodge if I don't pow him. You can do it. Tripwire? Hey, hey! Yeah, hates balance. That's an interesting comment, Hervik. Yeah, and I really don't know, like, and, you know, there is some potential truth to that because, well, one, it's Blood Bowl, right? So it's supposed to have just all kinds of crazy random stuff happening, and the imbalances are all lost in this maelstrom of dice that are flying left and right. So it's like, well, my team is actually mathematically better than yours, and that doesn't really matter because we got flesh columns casually picking up the ball, right? Like, and so, you know, that's part of the big picture design of the game. and so they don't want to mess with that. But then, so they sort of embrace that and just say, well, it is what it is. And also the fact that the joke teams are in the game, right, tells me that they care more about flavor and you know, sort of that, again, that chaos of variance, that they're not trying to build a game that's perfectly balanced, you know, for all formats and the hyper competitive crowd. So yeah, so it might not be one of their objectives to balance the game, right? Of course, we all want, you know, somebody to sort of tweak a few things here and there, but again, I feel like since it is playable and it's been playable so long and for so long, you know, like, we're pretty lucky in that respect. And if you were to take a team and tweak things, it wouldn't necessarily be in the, you know, better at the end of the day. So there's some risk there of just ruining the game we love as well. So well, what was the name of the Jarvik? What was the name of the guy who took the Living Rule book and ended up working on it for years? And he ended, I think that's how we ended up with LRB4. I felt like he was like sort of the savant for the game that who really sort of collected all these elements and did the best he could. I keep getting blitzes on these turn 8s. The best he could with what he had, and I think he did a pretty good job, right? Yeah, you know, one of the problems, I think, is the whole win percentage idea. This team is balanced because, or it's tier 1 because it has between 40 and 60% win rate. Like, the difference in win rate in a game like this of 5% or 10% is actually pretty massive when it comes to, like, reading that data in terms of how good a team is. And that's assuming all the coaches out there of different skill levels played, you know, an equal distribution of the teams, right? But suddenly you have teams that are viewed as overpowered. What else? Chaos Dwarves. The best coaches all start playing those, and because the best coaches are all playing those, and coaches that aren't as good are playing teams randomly, or, you know, whatever, then the win percentages are going to potentially get even more skewed, and so you have to pay attention to, you have to be able to read that data a lot more carefully. And so they would kind of just threw their arms up and said, well, 40%, 6%, it's all tier 1. It's like, no, it really just isn't. Wood elves at 60% versus humans at 40%. Not that that's what they are, but it's actually a pretty massive difference between those two teams. Yeah, Prague, they certainly did not envision, you know, chaos teams. And a lot of the formats available before the internet were all short format, and chaos was not a great choice in short format, right? And so it was like, no, they're fine. They'll be powerful if they're allowed to get a certain number of games in. But before that, they're pretty weak. And the designers were totally fine with that. And it's like, well, then there's a sweet spot for when chaos teams are sort of getting to that too much stage. And it turns out anything past that gets really scary. And here we are, the digital age of scary chaos. But I think, I don't know, I think, honestly, like chaos aren't that big a deal in this new ladder. Like it used to be when chaos was the only sort of team out there with mutation access. They were the thing, but now that we have Nurgle and Chaos Dwarf, and you know, it's like you can see that Chaos Dwarf is sort of the big team. Oh wow, we cleaned up over here. So we're even, or is he 10? Okay, so 10 on 10. I should probably play real defense, but I don't know. I'm curious if he'll try to score a fast touchdown or not.
It's a big game, Bob. How do you feel about being at such an important time?
No, whatever.
Indifferent. Ask me again. It's a lot of that.
Jervis Johnson? Is that his name? Nice, right? From the wiki. Oh, okay, so he worked on the original as well. Okay. Yeah, so he's sort of the guy behind it, you know, the developer behind it. Why are Chaos Doors considered OP? They just don't have any real weaknesses. Like, they have enough Chaos Dwarves to protect the squishier units, so it's hard to get numbers up on them because Chaos Dwarves are high armor, same with the Bulls. The Bulls are super fast. And they have mutation access, and so their Dwarves, which are already killers, are now super killers. And so they just kind of have all the things they need. Whereas a lot of other teams, you know, have to sort of have a weakness, right? Yeah, and they start well, like Velahapia, yeah, exactly. They start well, they develop really well, you know, like, whereas a lot of teams fall into the category of, you know, Chaos, for example, Nurgle. It's like, yeah, they're late TV teams, and Amazons and Humans are more early TV teams. That's right. As long as we have flings and goblins, the game is near perfect. Yep. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, the competitive side of me wants more teams that are competitive, right? A breadth of teams that are all competitive. So it's like I want to take those halfling teams and just tweak them a little bit so they're now they're competitive. Same with goblins and whatnot. You know, it's like. But I don't know that that's in the spirit of the game and really good for, you know, the overall health of the game. Like, I think for the same reasons that the game has high variance, so a bad coach can beat a good coach with the right dice. The goblin teams being in there, halfling teams being in there, being able to pull off wins is an amazing experience, right? So I'm not sure that it would make the game better to have all the teams sort of equally viable. You know, weakness, right? But the weakness is always, you know, bad dice and facing really good coaches. No, you got a 5.
But they're very short, so
You got a 5 target fireball in? No.
Five for me to eat.
Yeah, I don't know the lore well enough to say whether or not gutters and gutter runners and mutations is right. I feel like they're surrounded with all of that. Like, if Mordheim and Vermintide are reasonably accurate in the lore department. They're certainly surrounded by all that kind of stuff.
close and personal.
You'll need to be close. So close that you smell your
Is the rat ogre like?
breath.
Is that a natural thing in the lore, or is that something that? Whoops, we gave too much of this rat. Too many roids, and now he's bananas.
The players arrive to assist their teammate.
He's coming to help his buddy. That's what matters.
Yeah, sorry, probably not the right word, Herviak. Natural. Natural within the concept of the universe, I guess is what I meant. Okay, so they are natural, they're just, or are you telling me that they are natural? Like, that some of them are just born massive and ridiculous. No, Artemis is black. Is it still first half? There's always second half. The second, oh, that's leader. So leader's the one that gives you that extra reroll.
Those players are running each
Sorry, it gives you a single leader reroll counter.
Absolutely not.
I wanted to put it the counter right here, little chit. He's my runner. He's making me extra min-maxy. Okay. So they're born massive. Nice. Good job, new kid. You and your... I shouldn't say good job. It's getting ridiculous, your rolls. You just sort of choose what you want every time you level up. I feel like a little block on this ogre right now. Okay, there it is. Little sure hands, a little agility, a little dodge. Close it out with some pro. Yeah, is pro better? Oh.
Yeah, smells like a good old-fashioned fight.
Okay, so they're genetic experiments. But they're naturally amazing. Genetic experiments. Yeah, I can say, regardless of the thematics, the Skaven having access to mutations is what makes them a viable hybrid team, in my opinion. And that's all it takes. You just give them, team mutation access. Give my humans mutation access, and they will be totally viable. Ugh, that's horrible. Beating up loners. Oh, jeez. Jeez. Time to get in there. You can get in there. No! Do better.
Good call. Intimidation is legit. Strength and arms.
Most definitely going to fail. Oh! That's not the best scatter in the world. Oh well. Jeez, Artemis. Ah, the life of Norse. You kill, 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 and then the one day you don't. And then it's just, yeah, goodbye, team. They kill the little peoples. The little zombies. Little 3-strength zombies. Yeah, so true, Artemis Black. Yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe that's what I'm thinking, is just that they're always surrounded by, you know, the little stones or whatever you collect in Mordheim, and a warp stone splinters and stuff like that. They always got that green glowy stuff around them. Of course, that ooh, beach next week. Nice. What coast?
Like halflings round a sandwich.
What is this? He's trying to score. Yeah, it's it's a lot of work to do. Almost anything you want to be good at, especially in like the health profession, where it's like people kind of want to feel like they trust you, that you put in the work and you've done some schooling, rather than just what you're feeling is caused by little gnomes in your stomach. Don't worry, I'm a barber. I can get them out of there for you.
The ball, but can they pick it up?
Ooh, intubating. I'll pass. Take a hard pass on me getting intubated. Add G5, add G5. Oh no, he failed. Not that time though. Add G5. Jeez.
There goes the ball. High.
Jeez. Most disturbing.
This is a kick out.
So easy. This game is so easy. Add G5. Yeah, I imagine it gets more difficult after you're in severe pain. Madness. There we go. You mock my pain. That's right. When it comes to desperation. Yeah, it was only a 4+. Pretty nice.
Is the assist going to be enough to come out on top?
I get to punch some stuff. I get to surf some stuff. Before I go truly madness. No. Is he going to use dodge? I don't think he will. Oh. You're supposed to get the casualty in that case. Got a 3. Oh, that's an interesting question. Ooh. I guess I dodge away for the 1 die here. Oh yeah. Oh no. Totally gonna work. Dun 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 dun. Dun. Da-da-da.
Never taken the ball, can you?
Hey now.
I know, Jim. I'm watching the same match as you. Good defensive block.
How you like me now? How do you like me now? Pick it up or no balls. Oh, you know, I'm tempted. I'm really tempted. But I think I want to make him roll the dice. It's not that hard though. Pushes him out. Runs him in. He runs in for a pass. Yeah, I probably should, right?
Not what you'd expect.
No, it's close to his 5-edge guy. Makes this much harder though. Of course, he's the one who has to run down here. Or him. What could go wrong? Nothing, actually. Nothing can go wrong. You think you make it look easy? Watch this. I know I've played this coach before, but I cannot remember the experiences. Like if he gets super salty at the end, or if he was totally cool with everything that happened.
This man likes to be well assisted.
Oh, so they are still doing that Blood Bowl 1 trick? Where you just can't get a hold of them ahead of time? Yeah. I mean, that's fine. As long as no one can see them. It's not like there's any difference to the person playing how those rolls are generated. I guess all it really does is make you feel like, since it was predetermined, you weren't allowed to win or draw this game. Like the one Artemis Black is having right now. It's just like, well, but from a from a statistical standpoint, I don't think that's the right way to say that, but there's no way to know which dice are going to get applied to which things, because you don't know what decisions people are going to make, the orders of which they're going to take actions. Are they going to do these actions first over those? Are they going to fail at this point versus that point? You know, because not all double ones are, you know, turnovers, because you could be rolling a 3-die block, or it could be a 2-die block that you re-roll into something better, right? So, yeah, like, I don't think it actually changes anything, but the psychology of it probably feels very different. You know, this is something Richard Garriott talked about, the guy who made Magic the Gathering. He came to Blizzard once and gave this little, you know, chat. Talking about variance, one of the things I'll never forget that he said was just how people react to different types of randomness. The difference in the way people react to, say, a coin flip versus a 60-card deck, 30 of which are heads and 30 of which are tails, right, is completely different. People are totally okay with the randomness in a deck. They are not okay with an outcome that's a coin flip. And of course, totally is an oversimplification, but they're a lot more amenable to the deck result than the coin flip result. And you know, obviously the odds of those two things are exactly the same, but people's expectations, their knowledge of probability, you know, these things all impact how we feel about this stuff.
This is going to be enough to come out on top.
I like to throw blocks. That's what I do. Because blocks lead to stuns. Right. Yeah, and that might be part of it, right? Like, you know, growing up or whatever, we knew too many people that did magic tricks with coins or could manipulate it in certain ways where they felt like it wasn't a fair thing. It's supposed to be fair, but it wasn't. And so we're left with this feeling, this superstitious feeling that coin flips are inherently rigged rather than inherently unbiased. And so when it doesn't go our way, we get really upset. Of course it didn't go my way. It was rigged. When in reality, it's like, nah, it's pretty much just 50-50. Computer doesn't care how you're going to react to a coin flip. And that's the funny thing. We carry that into, like, the digital version, right? Like, people play Hearthstone and it flips a coin in front of them. It's like, oh, the worst. It's the worst card ever because it makes me flip a coin. People just hate it. Have I blitzed yet? I might need to satisfy that urge. Oh, I don't really like keeping him there, but... I got one reroll. I got sure hands.
And he took hold of the ball like an overfull tankard.
Like an overfull tankard. I'm gonna go here. I'll finish my cage here. What are you gonna do now with your 5 agility? Dive in and hit me? Yeah, I bet you are. I didn't blitz anyone. I feel dirty. Probably should just pushed him there, made the dodges away harder. Do I care about this guy? Not really. Not worth giving up my Troll Slayer, so get him into the mix. The grinder. Jeez. Jeez, don't look at the numbers, Iron is black. Avert your eyes. Oh yeah, here we go. Did you read that thing? Did anyone read that thing back in the day where they talked about dice? And like if you go to Vegas and you play with the craps dice, right? Those are perfectly balanced, right? But in order to get dice like that, 6-sided dice perfectly balanced, takes machining and precision that costs a ton of money, right? And so most hobby games don't put that kind of money into dice. So the dice are inherently imbalanced, right? And so they did tests to determine all this, right? And they found that a lot of the dice included with the Games Workshop were particularly bad at this. So the superstition that we've had about these games and rolling ones, right, is actually a little bit true, because the one was, because of the number of pips they had or the carve outs or whatever, the dice were imbalanced. And so I thought it was hilarious, like And I wanted to imagine like everyone going to Gen Con with their casino dice, right? Just to make sure, right? Like, and they get to roll those, and they don't let anyone else roll them. You know, like you guys have to roll your Games Workshop Blood Bowl dice or whatever. But I've got my casino dice. Yeah, that cracks me out too, Tall Brown. Like, as if like their sample size of sitting there all day and rolling is going to be like evidence, you know? Like, I told you. I totally did that for an hour and came up with way more 10s than 7s. No, I know, I'm sure they do it, right? It's just hilarious. And that's people's understanding of probability, right? Like our brains have, unless we study, you know, like just have no real concept of that kind of stuff. We're just like, yeah, we're much more just random superstition.
The attacker has an assist.
But yeah, I loved reading that article. The sweet vindication of, you know, so many people out there. They were like, I told you! That's why I roll all those ones! You didn't believe me! Where's my cage gonna go now? Oh, jeez. Well, you're out of position. You're not going to be helping with the cage. I might have a based cage, is that what I'm... Oh, not necessarily. I could potentially knock this guy down. Derp-a-derp-a-derp. These little waddlers. No, I didn't. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's obscene. Plus move twice. It's just obscene. It's gross. Oh, got niggled? How do you retire it just from a niggle? His armor's 9. He's fine. I guess he just plays and plays and plays and... Okay. Yeah, the rounded corners to me on dice, those just irritate. They just kept rolling. That's the boggle dice, right? You guys remember that boggle game where you click down on the thing in the middle and it had a super rounded wooden die, rounded corner wooden die, and the thing would just never stop rolling around. It's like, dude, just give me the result already. So that's why I hated rounded corners, but yeah, pretty funny. Yeah, that's what I was thinking to tell Brown, is he's just like, oh, I'm going to play 40 more games, whatever. I'll get a better one. Whereas all of us are like, we don't have time for 40 more games. That's madness. That thing is amazing.
That's it. Get in their face.
I don't even remember what kind of game it was, but it had a D6 that determined something. But I think, yeah, you were like sort of scrabbling, like trying to piece together words. I can't remember what the die was for, but yeah. I just remember that we threw that thing enough because we didn't like the roll. You know, that's what you do when you don't like rolls when you're a kid. You throw the thing. The little plastic thing cracked open, and then the die went flying and got lost under some, you know, because it just kept rolling, right? Like it rolled all the way down the street. And that thing was gone. The thing was cracked, so you couldn't hit it without cutting your hand. So it was the end of Boggle. Plus, you know, we found far better games. To this day, it rolls still. It's gonna roll all the way around the earth, and it's gonna come back with a story. It's gonna show up on my doorstep. Remember that time you threw me?
Since we are now staffed across the whole world,
He's gonna have his little volleyball named Wilson.
the viewers can see that. So I need to look my best.
Oh, there are a bunch of games? I only remember the one. Trouble. I remember that one. Oh, is that? Okay, by Orthus. I could be totally mixing up my family board games. Barack Obama, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar. That sounds right. We used to roll important ones down the hallway. We had this long hallway. And on anything really important, do or die, we would roll the dice all the way down this, you know, tiled hallway. And it would hit the front door and bounce everywhere. And we'd run down there to see what happened. It was pretty amazing. Just the act of like declaring a certain role hall worthy just magnified the tension of the game 1,000-fold. Keep hitting elves and profiting. That's all it is at this point.
This player likes to be well assisted. Jeremiah,
Seemed like he was doing something, but then all the elves ran away. I can go further.
This formation isn't a safe progression. It's going to be hard to make them lose the ball.
This could actually go badly,
is about to get punched above
but it didn't.
at the same time.
well, Two-Toe Brown, it certainly can mean that you remake. But I ran into some early dwarf teams with the Amazons last season, and they cleaned up. They got some of their highest casualty counts, so if I lose any game in my first 5, I think that's close to standard, you know. But I think I'm a little more lenient, although I've never, yeah, it's hard to say. It's been so long since I played like hyper competitive like that. Like, I like to compete and I play to win and all that, but I've never like laid out, here's my, you know, professional plan to get to the top, and here are the rules, and you know, I've just kind of gone with it, let the story go where it goes. But I do think that that's probably the best way to approach it. Yeah, like early dwarf. Like I used to like facing early dwarf with my human teams because they don't have all the guard and mighty blow. I mean, the catchers, you usually only have one catcher to start. And yeah, he just kind of can outrun all the dudes with tackle, force his non-tackle players to try and track him. And yeah, you're just so much faster than he is that you can just go side to side and switch the field on him. Usually comes down to a handoff, which 1 in 9 fails. But oh, he said steaming. I think he said streaming. Yeah, right. So spinning into dwarves, it can mean, yeah, that's the end, but I know, we were just looking at that one before the game. It's pretty disgusting, too. Definitely not Chaos Dwarves. Like, I pretty much refuse to play them. I can't do it. Like, my underdog, the underdog in me just refuses. Who will I try to qualify with? I don't know yet. That's a good question. I do want to play min-maxed Amazon again, or min-maxed Amazon's again, this time with that min-max approach. I think that interests me. Other than that, I don't know. I might stew on that decision a little bit. See where the season takes me. I might try to snipe, like the race that's not doing well. Or there aren't any brilliant coaches playing to high levels, one that I can get in there. That's usually what us, more mediocre coaches have to do, is find the weak point in the matrix. How dare you, sir?
This is going to be decisive.
Oh, look at that. Gucci Damien. Get some level up. Ooh, and bits. Bits. Bits for blood. That's the new currency. Jeez. Have 2 more removals. But where do I go? Oh, I got a GFI to get in there? And I have to GFI before I run the ball in there. The recipe, it's disastrous. Show us your stunty little legs. There you go. Oh, we could still get in there. Need to GFI again. Again and again. Phew! Dwarf cages. Oh, this is definitely a red dice. Oh.
Push back.
He spent so much on bits. Maybe just watch some of those 30-second commercials. How much do you get for those? Is it really watch a 30-second ad and then get 400 bits or something like that? Oh, you get 5 bits? Are you close enough? Oh, you are close enough. Is that really all they pay out? 30 seconds for 5? Because that is ridiculous, right? That is ridiculous. I mean, frequently in my life I've made, you know, decisions on, is this thing worth it to me, right? And a lot of times it comes down to what is my time worth, you know, like in exchanges like that. And it's like, you literally have to be contributing nothing to the world to figure like that your time is worth that little. Right. Yeah, fair enough, right? Like, yeah, I mean, there's really no parity when it comes to like contribution to society versus pay scale. All right, so I could hand this off. Oh, Rogue Shenanigans, though. That's my guy right there. Or Juegos de Lon. So, which one? Rogue Shenanigans. Here we go.
It's another handle. It's the puzzle out there.
Oh, come on now. Yeah, Captain Rose, I totally get that. Like, the value on it doesn't question, like, or I don't question the value from their standpoint of like, you know, raising the value, but whether or not to do it at all, right? That's where I'm, you know, like, because at the end of the day, you have this thing that is designed to make people hate their lives, you know, for very low money. Yeah, so then it comes down to what are advertising paying them to run this program? What are they getting out of it, right? Hey, large thud, get in there. Got his level. 14 armor breaks to 2. That was a good bashing game. Wow. Yeah, he was saying how he's played 10 years of orc, so he's used to punching back a little bit more. Look at that armor. Look at that dwarf mithril. Yeah, his armor was okay. I just got 1 billion blocks on him, so 1 billion blocks is gonna hurt. Just saying. All right, blitzer level, normal. Get a little more. Let's get a little more guard in here. Oh, and guess what we'll do over here? Oh, doubles! He could get movement. He's not going to get movement. Should I take armor? Agility. I don't even want this. I just want guard. That's how cancerous I am. Dodge? I mean... push off guard for another level, please. Yeah, diving tackle, like... I might have done that back in the day. Here's why I stopped doing that. Because of 4 movement, right? Like... like how many times? How many times... can you just not be in the position to stop the guy you need to stop? But since I run the death roller, if the death roller's on the front line pushing and basing, you know, the elf screens, having that diving tackle partner next to him is significant. So well, now you're arguing for dirty player, because that's who stands next to downed elves. Is a guy that's stepping on their face. Yeah, so well, you picked the last one. You get to do Gucci Damien too, Too Tall Brown. You did gift a sub, though. I do appreciate it. I gotta add Herbiok to the sub list. This is my team now. The manager. The Jefe. Oh, I thought the coach was the manager. That's it, you're fired. No, see, you're in charge of the market. So if I go to the player market, you know, then you can you can make the decisions. Nice, new kid.
Talismans are certainly making a splash on the used arcane items.
Oh, you had 2 DTs on your team. I read that as DPs. Dirty players. Can I still do that? I guess I can. Can I still look at your team? I'm thinking just card here, right? Like, just be gross. What? Oh, yeah, I get to upgrade the club.
Enhance your stadium. It must be of a sufficient size.
Oh, should I do it? I can afford it. The rest area. They fall asleep. Yeah. Wait. Why were my cheerleaders back to... Do I gotta do that every game? Can't waste a juicy double. Is that what you're gonna say? Oh, but you waste them all the time. I know you do. You don't waste them. You do what's right. Alright, everyone go take a look. That poll seems biased. Leap is kind of amazing. Should I take shadowing? I mean, that's the same value as diving tackle, right? I'm taking armor. I want to get that 90% armor up to 93. I don't know what to do here. Yeah, diving tackle. It does sound fun. It's pretty split, I'll be honest. I mean, I think
Massive Bifford fan on Twitter.
I think the vote is close enough.
What is ogre on ogre action?
I think it's close enough that yeah, it might be left in my hands. I'm not sure. Sidestep, yeah. Sidestep guard is pretty powerful. I don't know if it's as powerful as stand firm guard, but especially since the way the dwarves play, it's like just line up. You don't want to be moved. You sidestep only lets you go back anyway in the line. I think I'm being swayed to take diving tackle just to do something a little different. Yeah, stand firm is definitely the better next choice, I think, in that case. Otherwise, he just gets pushed off. Did I say Hail Mary? Yeah, now you're talking. Wait, Hail Mary is a general? Oh no, it's passing. That's right. Hail Mary. Nerves of Steel. Yeah, see, Nerves of Steel.
Well, you can't beat them with Birdie Swimmer. Always operate.
Counters, foul appearance. Am I right? Just add a little value. Just a little bit of value to these things. It's still totally untakeable. Diving catch, yeah. I like it. Already got leader. Yeah, I got a leader, so it would be a second leader, which is good because, you know, the runner is the softest of the dwarves. That ridiculous armor 8. Yeah, it's an auto. Hail Mary is an auto turnover, but it's great at just punting. You know, it's great for punting if, you know, the whole thing is deep in your backfield and the elves are pressuring you and you're running out of time, you're trying to hold on to it, or not give away a touchdown, and he's overcommitted forward. It's a super narrow. But yeah, this one time where that was all lined up, yeah, Hail Mary would have been great. But of course I didn't take it because why would anyone take it? Alright, I'll take diving tackle. That's I'll split the difference. Entertaining, useful. I just unlocked an achievement for taking that. Agility at its best. You have taught an agility skill to a dwarf player. Shows you how much I play dwarves. Oh. Amazing. Yeah, there you go. Next double, sidestep. Just super annoying guy. Gucci Damien. Well, it really is because I just haven't played dwarves, right? I just don't play dwarves, so that might be my first double on a dwarf player. And I played before these 10 games, 11 games, I played one game according to my history. Blood Bowl 2. Blood Bowl 1 I played them more. But Blood Bowl 2 has its own achievements, right? So but that's pretty hilarious. Refunds for everything. They're on the way, man. All right, yeah. So let's take a look. Well, first of all, let me sign off. That was game 11 versus High Elf. Went really well. Got a victory, one of the rares. Was that a 2-0 victory? Oh no, I failed the pass, the handoff at the end there, 1 and 9. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and come follow me on Twitch. Thank you, and I will see you soon for another game.